Hey everyone, I'm Trevor, and today we're at Disneyland to share with you my top tips for surviving the crowds during the busy spring break season or any other busy time of the year. So let's get going. My first tip for you, and perhaps the most important tip for visiting during spring break, is going to be to show up at Rope Drop. Rope Drop is the quietest that you will see Disneyland all day, and right now it is actually about 8:10 in the morning. We'll talk about that in just a moment. The park opens at 8. That's what Rope Drop is, showing up here when the park opens. Ideally, you want to get here earlier than that. Gates at the front of the park open at about 7:20 to 7:30 because 7:30 is early entry, so the park has to be open before then, and the security lines, I believe, open at 7 a.m. So plan accordingly, get in here, get ready to go, get primed for Rope Drop. They'll let you in at 7:30, all guests, whether you have early access or not, but they are going to hold you at a rope, that's why we call it Rope Drop, until 8 o'clock when they remove the rope, and then they let you into the park. So show up early. That is the key and most important tip for surviving the crowds. But along with that, plan for things to take longer than usual. If you are a Disneyland veteran who comes at other times of the year but you've never been for spring break, or maybe you're a new Magic Key holder, you've come before but you've never been for spring break, realize that things take longer. I got here at 7:25 this morning, driving up from San Diego. Typically speaking, I would get into the park by 7:45 and have 15 minutes before Rope Drop. Today, didn't get in until 8:10. Parking lines took longer, security lines took longer, entrance lines took longer. If you are walking in from Harbor Boulevard because you're staying at a hotel, expect the security lines over there to be crazy long. It took a whole extra 25 minutes for me to get in here this morning. So tip number 2 is expect things to take longer. But this is why you want to show up for Rope Drop, folks, because this is the Buzz Lightyear line and it is empty, completely empty. There are 5-minute waits across the board, across the park, with the exception of the biggest rides like Space Mountain, Rise the Resistance, Indiana Jones, Peter Pan, and Alice in Wonderland. Yes, Alice in Wonderland does fall into that as well, but 5-minute waits and mostly every other ride. So show up at Rope Drop. It is key, it is important. I call the first hour the golden hour because of how amazing it is. In fact, I've shared this secret so many times that Rope Drop is starting to get busier, but I'm gonna keep sharing it anyway, even if it does make more people show up, because really, there's no better time to experience Disneyland than first thing in the morning. Now we're gonna come and get breakfast from Galactic Grill. And today I thought we'd try another new breakfast item that I noticed on the menu for the first time. That's the breakfast bagel sandwich. And this is an Asiago cheese bagel with some bacon, egg, cheese, and the like here. There's also, I believe, an aioli sauce on here too. So we're gonna give this a try and see how it goes. It's nice and hot, has a good blend of flavors. I can taste the Asiago cheese bagel, I can taste the egg, I can taste the cheese, I can taste the bacon, I can taste the sauce. Nothing overpowers everything else, and this is just a perfect harmony of a sandwich. This is really good. This might be my new favorite breakfast item from Galactic Grill. Is it my favorite breakfast item in the park? No. Mickey Waffles are still going to hold that award, but this is an excellent item worthy of your consideration. Now, the reason that you want to show up for Rope Drop is because it is the slowest the park will be all day long. If you think about it this way, right at 8 o'clock is the absolute minimum number of people that the park will have in it. Every additional minute that goes by, more people are walking through the entrance gates. They're walking through those turnstiles. Every single minute, hundreds of people are flooding into the park until about 10 to 11 o'clock. Right around, I'd say right around 11 o'clock, things start to equalize. You start getting people hopping over to DCA, so you get people leaving. And 11 is about as busy as it tends to get. So if you can enjoy 8 to 11 before the park gets to its fullest, it's probably going to be the best time for you. There's one other time that's pretty decent, and that's going to be the end of the night, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. For tip number 3, expect the worst. I share this one every year, and some people don't really like me saying this because it kind of seems counterintuitive, right? To go to a magical place like Disneyland and expecting to have a terrible time. But let me tell you, if you are prepared, if you are prepped, if you are coming to Disneyland fully aware that it will be packed, and you know that it will be packed, and you know that you'll likely encounter lines everywhere you go, then you'll be appropriately ready to tackle the day. And if it so happens that it is not as busy as you thought, well, then you'll be pleasantly surprised and you'll have a better time because of it. Now take the alternative scenario, for instance. You come to Disneyland expecting sunshine and roses, the shortest wait times of your life, for everybody around you to be happy and cheerful, and for all of your plans to go perfectly. Unfortunately, when reality doesn't meet your expectation, you're in for a rude awakening, and you spend the rest of the day grumpy and angry, and you really make everybody else around you miserable, from your family to other guests as well. And it just leads to disappointment. And so I find it best to come in expecting things to be busy and needing to bring your patience. Now, let's take the opposite scenario. You come to Disneyland expecting it all to be sunshine and roses, the shortest wait times of your life, everybody around you to be super happy, and all of your plans to go perfectly. But when reality doesn't meet that expectation, you get disappointed and you start to, well, for a lack of a better term, get angry, be grumpy, get upset, and make everybody around you miserable, including your family, which leads to you going home, never wanting to come back ever again. What you need to do instead is come to Disneyland preparing that it is going to be busier and that you're going to need to pack your patience. So let me ask you this question. Which person would you rather be? If you come to Disneyland at this time of year expecting the worst, you'll ultimately be able to have a better time because of it. It's now currently 8:50 in the morning, and wait times across the board have gone up significantly. On a normal rope drop morning, they won't start to rise until like 9:30 to 10 o'clock. Usually you could go on a Buzz still at a 5-minute wait at around 9:30 in the morning. Today, the minimum wait time across the park, with the exception of very few rides, is about 15 minutes. Some of the rides are at 25-30, like Haunted Mansion and Big Thunder. Space Mountain is at 85 minutes. It is the longest wait in the park. Rise of the Resistance currently closed at the moment. That happens. It's not always ready first thing in the morning. Usually what happens, and this is a tip for you, I noticed this, everybody who could not get on Rise when they expected to, they rope dropped it, they ran over there, they all pivot and they go to Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. I saw it at 90 minutes. Right now it's 15, but it was up to 90 minutes. Don't get in line for Smugglers if Rise is closed, because it's going to be artificially inflated. Go somewhere else, come back. And now we're back at Galactic Grill very momentarily for our next tip, which is going to be to take advantage of the mobile ordering process. This morning, as I was coming in on the tram, I was sitting on the tram looking at mobile order menus, trying to figure out what item that I wanted to eat for breakfast. I placed my mobile order on the tram so that I was able to come straight here once I got into the park. Likewise, you can do the same thing when you're standing in line for rides. If you're in line for Matterhorn bobsleds, you could be using that time to look through food menus, look at pictures, trying to figure out what place you want to eat before meal times. There's nothing that wastes more time than spending 20 minutes standing in the middle of the path, arguing back and forth with your family about where to eat and not doing any eating or riding of rides. Instead, use that time in the lines to figure out all this stuff, okay? Place your mobile order right there in the app. Now, I know a lot of people hate that Disney has become all about being on an app, that you have to have your face in your phone. But mobile ordering is such a huge quality of life improvement. It really is beneficial for you to figure it out and learn it. If you have never done mobile order, it is a game changer here at Disneyland. Then for a bonus tip, I want to tell you to hit the I'm Here button a little early. So when you pick a window, it's a 15-minute window. Say it's 8:15 to 8:30. That's what I had this morning for my food. At 8:10, I could click that I am here. So you get 5 minutes early, but I also want to tell you to hit it like, if you're coming to Galactic Grill and you're walking in from the front of the park, hit it when you're by Little Green Store Command or Buzz. Give it a little bit of a head start, because it's not always ready immediately. They have to prepare the food. And so if you hit it a little early, that extra couple of steps that you take to walk here just gives them time to get it ready. If it's like my bagel this morning, it was already prepackaged and they just slid it out onto the tray. Great. But other meals sometimes take preparation, and it can take up to 5 to 10 minutes to prepare your food. So if you click I'm here a little early, it will save you some time in the long run. Additionally, it's good for you to eat at Off-Peak Mealtimes. That is going to be our next tip. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you are going to be eating here for lunch, just realize that lunch opens at about 11 a.m. There's a couple of restaurants that open earlier, like Flo's V8 Cafe, actually opens at 9:30 with their full lunch menu. That's the exception, not the norm. Other restaurants, especially if they have breakfast menus, aren't going to switch to their lunch menu until 11 o'clock. So what that means is for lunch, you ideally want to be eating at 11 a.m. because that's right when the meal times switch over. It's going to be the least crowded for lunch if you go right away. People primarily eat lunch, I would say, like around 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So if you can't eat at 11 a.m., wait until 2 p.m. It's going to be the least crowded after that main rush mealtime. However, 2 p.m. is still going to be busier than 11 a.m. So if you can eat earlier, all the better. For dinner, there's really no best time unless you're willing to eat really early. I'm talking like 4 p.m. But the worst time to eat is between 6 and 7:30 p.m. This is in my experience when everyone else is eating. I mean, I've seen restaurants like Alien Pizza Planet have every single seat filled, even their exterior seating over by Space Mountain, at around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. Usually there's plenty of seating back there. So it is just a busier time to eat. So plan to eat around 5 p.m. or later than 8 p.m. But the earlier, the better. Baby duck season. It's March. My wife absolutely adores the baby ducks here at Disneyland and has been waiting for them to make their appearance. We saw mating season a couple of months ago, and now it's baby duck season. But anyway, eating at off-peak meal times is important, especially if you are waiting in standby lines, if you do not want a mobile order, if you are paying with cash, because you can't pay with cash via mobile order. Now, you can purchase a Disney gift card and pay with the Disney gift card via mobile order if that is an acceptable solution for you, but you can't pay with cash via mobile order. So if you have to stand by, eating at off-peak meals is going to be crucial. But even with mobile ordering, there may be a lot of other people mobile ordering during those peak meal times, meaning that you may not even get the window that you would like. If you wait till 12 o'clock to book a mobile order, you may find that the next available is 12:30, 12:45, and then you're waiting even longer before you can eat. Now let's talk about table service restaurants. So last year I said not to eat at table service restaurants during the busier times of the year. And I mostly still stand by that advice. Why? Well, because sit-down meals, as we call them, take a long time. Time you could be riding rides. And when ride lines are so long, you want to be riding as much as possible to avoid having a day where you only rode 3 rides. But I do want to say that table service meals can have their place as an avenue to step away from the crowds for a moment and just sit down for a bit. So just expect a table service meal to take no less than 60 minutes, where you could be done with quick service in under 20. So if rides are a priority, avoid places like Blue Bayou, Carnation Cafe, or Cafe Orleans behind me, as enjoyable as those places may be. Speaking of riding rides, buy Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. Now, we spend a lot of time here on the channel talking about Lightning Lanes, and I'm not going to belabor a Multi-Pass again here. I have tons of videos that you can go and watch about it, from tip videos to ride challenge videos that utilize the service to how-to videos walking you step by step through the process. What I will say here is that Lightning Lane Multi-Pass is almost a necessity at Spring Break. Other times of year, you can get by just fine without it. Sure, you'd have a better time with Lightning Lane on any day of the year, but not purchasing it at Spring Break is almost like setting yourself up for failure from the get-go. Can you come without it? Yes. If you're a Disneyland pro who knows what they're doing, yes. But even as often as I go, I still find myself getting frustrated with standby lines at times, especially when they're really busy days. And having Lightning Lane just takes a level of stress off that it's really hard to quantify. It really does make everything feel better. If you can afford it, buy it. If you can't afford it, you still can have a good time at Disneyland, but you're gonna have to work really hard on your attitude. Which is just a good time to bring it up again, okay? Pack your patience. We're just gonna hammer it home and make it an official point here. Pack your patience because you're gonna need it, with or without Lightning Lane. There'll be lines for security, lines to get into the park. I mean, I've already encountered a good chunk of those here today. Shoulder-to-shoulder crowds on Main Street, lines for getting food, congestion points, shuffling, and so on. It's just going to be all around you. And the important thing here to remember is that you set the tone for your trip. Your attitude will make or break your Disneyland vacation. If you have a bad attitude, you'll have a terrible time even on the best of days. And if you have a good attitude on the busiest day of the year, you'll come away having had a great day. And please, be mindful about how your attitude affects those around you as well. If you're yelling at your family, ranting and raving about terrible service, and chewing out cast members, not only is your family going to be miserable, but so is everyone around you too. Please don't be that guy that everyone rolls their eyes at and can't wait to get away from. Don't forget to take advantage of services that are readily available to you, like a single rider and rider switch. Here at Smuggler's Run behind me, it's 9:45 in the morning now, and it is a 40-minute standby wait. So that gives you kind of an idea of how busy it is here today. Not even 10 o'clock, 40-minute standby wait. Take advantage of single rider. It really is a great way to ride this attraction in particular. There's hardly anybody in the single rider line. What is single rider? Well, it's a service that allows you to go in if you are at least 7 years of age and fill in empty seats on attractions so that there are no empty seats. And that means that your party's going to get split up. So if you're going with a group of four, your group of four is going to get split up. If you're lucky, you'll end up in the same ride vehicle or close ride vehicles. With Smugglers here, they'll probably put two of you together as engineers because they'll have a family of four that are the pilots and the gunners, and then they'll need two people, and if there's not a party of two immediately behind them, they'll take two single riders. That's happened to me many times, and other rides are not quite as beneficial. Like Soarin' has a single rider line over at DCA, but it's actually sometimes worse than the standby line. So not every single ride is going to be good for single rider. My favorite rides with single rider are going to be Space Mountain, Matterhorn Bobsleds, Smuggler's Run, Radiator Springs Racers, Grizzly River Run, and Goofy Sky School. Like I said, there are some others that are on single rider, but they're not as advantageous. The other service that you have is going to be Rider Switch, and so that's whenever you come with somebody who is too small to ride. Whenever my youngest was too short to ride, say, Space Mountain, what we would do is we would take our oldest on the attraction and one adult would sit out with my youngest, and then we take advantage of the rider switch. And how that works is that you take your whole party to the front of the line and say that you need a rider switch because somebody is not able to ride. They'll ask you who is sitting out, and then they'll scan that person's ticket to give you a free Lightning Lane. And then they'll also scan one additional person's ticket to give them a free Lightning Lane so that they can accompany you when you ride. The way that this works for a family of four is, say that Amy sat out with Benjamin, I would ride with James through the standby line. And then after we got off, Amy would take James through the Lightning Lane because she would be able to take somebody else with her. So James got to ride twice. And it's just a great way to take advantage of the ability of rider switch whenever little ones can't ride. So keep that in mind. You do get free Lightning Lanes with the rider switch service, but it's not for your entire party, just the person who sat out and one additional person. Here's an adjustment from a tip from last year. Come on the most expensive days of the week. Last year I said to come on weekdays, but more and more I'm finding that that's just not the case anymore. Weekdays can still be pretty good, but your best bet is actually to visit on the days that are the most expensive. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you are booking a single day ticket they have tiered pricing, tier 0 to tier 6. Tier 6 is like $196, tier 0 is like $104, and so what happens is people who are just coming for a single day are going to choose the cheaper days of the week. They're going to choose Tuesdays and Wednesdays and things like that to come, whereas days that are like Saturdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, sometimes there's, midweek days as well that fall under this most expensive bracket. But they avoid those days because they're more expensive. And what me and a few other people like Fresh Baked, my buddy David, have been finding out is that these more expensive days, even if they're weekends, actually tend to be less crowded than the cheaper days. What used to be a good day to come, Tuesday or Wednesday, is now shifting to Saturdays or Sundays. And it used to be, we'd say don't come on weekends at all. But now you really have to look at the pricing of those days. It's not a foolproof plan. I'm just trying to arm you with information to help you make the best decision for you and your family. Of course, coming during spring break is still going to be busy regardless. Now, if you want to look up these prices, all you have to do is go on the Disneyland website and go to purchase a ticket and pretend you're purchasing a one-day ticket. If you choose a 2-day or a 3-day or whatever, multi-day, they actually equalize the prices. They give you a flat rate. So it doesn't matter what day of the week you're coming if you're buying a multi-day ticket, but if you're buying a single one-day ticket, they're going to have those different prices. So you can then look at the days of the week, you can see which ones are cheaper, which ones more expensive, and in my opinion, it's better to go on the more expensive days. So if you have a multi-day ticket, you don't actually have to pay those more expensive prices. Just keep that in mind when you're planning, and then you can select days that are on the more expensive days. You're more likely to encounter lower crowds the more expensive the day. Now it's time for one of my favorite tips that everybody always kind of gets upset when I share, but I still find it to be true, and that is skip Fantasmic and fireworks. Yeah, I said it, I know. Everybody always wants to watch fireworks or Fantasmic, and I don't blame you, especially if it's your first time. It's part of the experience, truly. And you're probably everybody, so I get it. But one of the best things that you can do at Disneyland is not to do what everyone else is doing. And if everyone else is lining up on Main Street or staking their claim for Fantasmic an hour before, well, then they're standing around and they're not in ride lines. Which means one of your best times to ride rides is, well, when they're not. It's no rope drop, so don't expect walk-ons at rides, but if the standby wait drops even 15 to 20 minutes, that can be a huge help for you. If you do happen to watch the fireworks, or even if you chose to skip them, don't immediately leave after fireworks. Okay, that's what everyone else does, and we've already established that you shouldn't do what everybody else is doing. Instead, stick around till the park closes for the second best time of the day for rides, from 10 p.m. to midnight, or we call that park close. Again, it's no rope drop, but the later it gets, the lower the lines will be. And don't let the posted wait times fool you. We once saw Big Thunder Mountain Railroad posted at 55 minutes, and it was a walk-on at 11:30 at night. Wait times at night are often posted higher than they actually are, but that doesn't mean that they're all secretly walk-ons. It just means they're trying to discourage you from sticking around and head home. But you can get in line as late as 11:59 and still ride the ride. So take advantage of every moment. Of course, if you do plan on showing up from rope drop to park close, you are going to need to take an afternoon break. Afternoon breaks are especially helpful on busy days. It might sound like bad advice. I mean, why should I leave the park when you're telling me not to waste any time, right? But the truth is, the best times to be at the park are when it first opens and just before it closes. And going from 8 a.m. to midnight can be rough, even for adults with the best endurance. But it's especially difficult for children. Heading back to the hotel in the middle of the afternoon when the parks are at their busiest and hottest, depending on the weather, is generally a good idea. Let yourself unwind and recharge, come back in time for dinner, get some food, and then prepare to tackle the evening hours and make the most of the rest of your day. You'll feel better, and even if you realistically could have ridden X number of rides while you were at the hotel, you'll get more out of your evening with an afternoon break thrown into the mix, and you've got more energy to tackle it with a better attitude. And for my final tip, I want to throw in an oldie but a goodie, and that's to make a priority list. realize that you probably won't get it all done unless you're coming for 5 days. Usually I'd say 3 days is plenty to visit Disneyland. 2 days at Disneyland, 1 day at DCA. But with spring break crowd levels, it's hard to say if that's even enough time. And if you're only coming for 1 day, you're going to have to pare down your expectations. The best way to do this is with a priority list. Ask each member of your party what's one ride that they can't miss. How about one snack? Or maybe a show or activity? You may not ride all 34 rides or have time for every single attraction at Disneyland. But with a priority list, you'll do everyone's favorite thing and make sure that no one goes home disappointed. And that's it for our time here today at Disneyland, sharing with you our top tips for dealing with the crowds during the busy spring break season. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Click this video to check out my spring break guide if you have not already seen it. Got questions? Drop them in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer them. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again next time.